Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair, Brother Omar. Is this working now or no? Did this turn off? Is this good? Yeah. طيب, is this good right here? Yeah. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. So I'm about to lose probably a good chunk of the crowd right now with the first reference I'm going to make. Who's read Harry Potter? Okay. Yeah, so if you don't like Harry Potter, just turn off for like 20 seconds. So J.K. Rowling is the author of the Harry Potter series. And when she spoke about writing the characters for the books and eventually the movies, one thing that she mentioned was that she surrounded Harry Potter with two particular characters. Give me their names. I heard Kevin. So two of the main characters in Harry Potter, his two best friends are Hermione Granger and Ron Weasley. So Hermione and Ron, look, I'm not going to say, this isn't about gender interaction between having a sister in that group, astaghfirullah. But J.K. Rowling says that she included these two characters particularly, one of them being from a wizarding background and one of them being a more book-smart muggle background. Does anybody know what a muggle is? A non-wizarding person. Okay? So Hermione is really book smart. She knows everything there is to know about books. Ron doesn't know much about book stuff. He's more of a life experience guy. He comes from a big family. He knows a lot about the wizarding world, okay? So Harry, now when he has these two friends, he has one who's really book smart and one who's really street smart. And they really help give him a good background and complete his character when he goes to Hogwarts. I know there's some people in here who are like, oh my God, what is he talking about? But the idea of this is that when J.K. Rowling is putting together a character that she views as, the perfect hero, a really important and powerful character, she surrounds him with two friends who help complete his weaknesses, his flaws. He's not very book smart and he's not very street smart at the beginning of the series. But he gets two friends that help him balance that out. So of course we're tying this in with the concept of friendship, as-suhbah, right? And I want to mention the hadith where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, "Al-mar'u ala dini khalilih." What's the rest? Everybody should know this. Al-mar'u ala dini khalilih. A person is on the religion of their khalil. What's the rest? فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَحَدَكُمْ مَنْ يُخَالِلْ. So be careful or be cautious or take note of the people that you befriend. All right? So what is the khalil? Can somebody tell me what the difference is between a sahib, a friend, and a khalil? Nobody? I think I really lost you guys with the Harry Potter at the beginning. Yeah.
Khalil is like a best friend, very close friend.
Yeah, exactly. So the khalil is not just your normal average friend, but the khalil is the person that you take to be very close to you. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is telling us that the person that you take to be close to you, this person is going to change your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This person is going to help shape your deen. So imagine this. Somebody might be, when they're on their own, they might be praying, they might be, giving their sadaqah, they might be refraining from using bad language, monitoring their time, all that good stuff. But then when they're in the company of certain friends, they forget that. Their deen starts to be limited to, maybe when they're on their own or when they're at their home or when they're at the masjid. But in the company of other people, it goes away, right? We all know this. So there's a couple famous quotes, and essentially the quote goes along like, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Or show me your 5 closest friends and I'll tell you who you are. You guys heard that? Do you guys think it's true? Does anybody disagree with it? Hands up. Okay, good. Because I don't think this is a point really that needs to be drilled home. The fact that your friends really have a major impact on who you are as a person. Now, more often than not, we tend to take friends not because of what we can benefit from them or how they can help us, but we take them because we enjoy our company with them, right? You take people who you have fun with, you take people who you can relate to. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, on the surface level. And some people might actually say, you know what? you shouldn't be looking at friends as people that you can benefit from and take things from. That's not what friendship is about. Friendship isn't about picking the people that you want to take good traits from. That's a very cynical way to look at it. Because when I say I want to befriend this brother because he's reciting Quran, it's not just about I want to be like him, but rather it's I want to change my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by being in the company of somebody who already has that. Because we know that our lives, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us primarily for ibadah. We don't want to surround ourselves with people who take us off that path. Now you can have fun, you can have a good time. Nobody's telling you you can't do these things. But we want to be cautious of people who bring us closer to that goal and people who bring us further. And if a person isn't bringing you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inevitably you're going to be moving backwards. Why? There's essentially three influences that we have on us as people. The first one would be from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second would be from your nafs, your own self. And the third would be from the shaitan. Okay? So if you decide, I'm not going to consciously make an effort to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what are the two things that are left influencing you? Your nafs and shaitan. So if you have a friend and you're not going, and they're not helping you move forward, the only influences that you have are your own nafs and the shaitan on you. That's it. So inevitably you're going to move backwards. There's no such thing as being neutral. There's no such thing. Nothing stops. You're either going forward or you're going backwards. You know how a car, if you put it in neutral, if you push it back and forth, it'll move, right? We don't have a park button in our life. We can't just decide to go park and keep things the same, because we know that Iman goes up and down, right? Iman doesn't stay the same. So right now, for example, we might feel like our Iman is at a high. Maybe not because of the Harry Potter and not as much Quran and stuff, but in general, our Iman goes up and down. And right now, when we're in the company of good people, when we're in the masjid, do you think the shaitan has as much of an influence on you? No. You're surrounded right now by people. When you're in the company of a big group, it makes it easier to both do good and to do bad. Both. So for example, have you ever been in a group of like 6 or 7 people, and they decide, yo, let's go to this place, let's go hang out at this place, say, let's go to Tim Hortons, okay? And you know that Salat al-Maghrib is in 10-15 minutes. You know if you go to Tim Hortons, you're gonna miss Salah. And then 6 of those people say, yeah, let's go. How much is your word alone gonna sway them? Not much. At the same time, if you're with 6 people and all of them say, yo, hold up, let's go pray first, very obviously that is going to sway the whole group to go pray. Maybe there's 2 or 3 people in that group who weren't planning to, but because the majority were moving towards that direction, everybody moved towards it. So the main idea then that we're trying to say is there's influence in groups. Now so often somebody says, oh, I'm trying to cut off bad friends, but I'm going to hang out with them still because I want to help guide them to Islam. I want to help advise them. It's a good intention, but be cautious that you're not being tricked by shaitan. Be really cautious of that. Because what the shaitan will tell you sometimes is, okay, you know what? Your iman is good. Your faith is fine. So you should hang out with that big group of messed up people so you could try to advise them. And you'll notice that you, as one person, you don't have much influence on that whole group. So what's the solution if you want to cut away from bad friends? You want to cut away from a bad group. Maybe there's 1 or 2 people that are in there that have a little bit more of an inclination towards practicing. Maybe they have, they come from a religious background, or maybe they have, for whatever reason, like a softness towards Islam. Pull them aside, go separately. So for example, you see this brother, and you know every time he's in this bad group, he's going to do the same stuff as them. But maybe you say, yo, how about us 2 go to the masjid for salah? How about I wake you up for fajr? How about we do this, we do that? If you get that person alone and you talk to them, you have a way better chance of influencing them. So just don't let the shaitan fool you when there's a big group of people that you're going to help, and you're going to help be their savior. That's a trick from the shaitan. So who here has heard the story of, this is a really, really, really well-known narration, so I kind of don't want to go over it if people already know it. But the seller of the musk versus the seller of the blacksmith. Hands up if you know it. Actually, hands up if you don't know it. Okay, so that's a really big number of people, subhanAllah. So this is an example that, to me, it's like almost, it's become cliche, everybody hears it, but it's so true, and every time, subhanAllah, I'm with a good friend, it reminds me of this. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he narrates, or it's narrated by Abu Musa, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that the example of a good companion or a good friend in comparison with a bad one is like that of the musk seller and the blacksmith's bellows or furnace. From the first you would either buy musk or enjoy its good smell, while the bellows would either burn your clothes or your house, or you get a bad nasty smell thereof. So, to speak that in English, musk, what's musk? It's like a really, really nice smell, like a cologne, for example, or a perfume. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says that a good friend is like a person who sells perfume or he sells musk. Okay? Why? Either you're going to get some from him, either you'll buy it or he'll give it to you, or at the very least, by being in their company, you're going to benefit from the nice smell. You're going to enjoy that smell. Whereas the bad friend is like the blacksmith. So a blacksmith, for those of you who don't know, is like somebody who basically works with the furnace and works with metal, and there's a lot of smoke and there's a lot of ashes and stuff around you. So either, if you're in their company, the bad friend is like a blacksmith, where if you're with them, even if you're not doing any bad, even if you're not participating in the blacksmithing, at the very least, you're going to walk out with the smelling bad from being around that furnace. You see what I mean? So is that example clear of the good friend and the bad friend? So subhanAllah, how often did you hang out around some people and you notice that they say, for example, Insha'Allah, Subhanallah, MashaAllah, Jazakallah khair. They say these words so second-handedly. It's just a part of their language. It's not like they're saying it because they want to seem religious. It's just a part of their language now. If you spend enough time with people like that, even if you don't know what these words mean, you'll start repeating them. And a big example of that, you see people who don't speak Arabic, they say these words and sometimes they don't even know what they mean. So instead of saying thank you, you're welcome, they'll say Jazakallah khair wa iyyak. Jazakallah khair, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you goodness. Unlimited goodness. This is the best way to say thank you to somebody. Jazakallah khair. Somebody does something good for you, Jazakallah khair. And it seems almost now also like a cliche, where people just will sign off their emails, Jazakallah khair, if it's like planning for an MSA event or something. But if you think about what you're saying, this is the most kind and the best dua that you could make for a person who does a favor for you. Jazakallah khair. Anyway, we're talking about the example of the musk salesman and the blacksmith. And we see then that the influence of the good friend, you can get it even without actually actively being a part of that friendship. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He actually gives a nasiha to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He gives an advice to Rasulullah on who he should spend time with. So I know a lot of you guys in here, mashallah, you're in the masjid, you're here for a halaqa, so you have good friends, I know that. And you might be thinking, I don't really need this halaqa, I already have good friends. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala advises Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam on the type of company that he should keep, as a reminder to keep him in check, to keep him reflecting on this, right? So if Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam takes this nasiha, so should we. So in Surah Al-Kahf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم واصبر نفسك مع الذين يدعون ربهم بالغداة والعشي يريدون وجهه ولا تعد عيناك عنهم تريد زينة الحياة الدنيا ولا تطع من أغفلنا قلبه عن ذكرنا واتبع هواه وكان أمره فرطا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying واصبر نفسك. So not just take company with people. He's saying واصبر نفسك, which is keep yourself patient with these people. So, you know how we're talking about hot coal, right? That's what we said Islam is like. It's like a hot coal right now. So we want to be patient as we're holding on to Islam during these tough times so that our hands don't burn, right? So we need patience. So what should we do? وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ. Keep yourself patient with who? مَعَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُم. With the people who call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When? بِالْغَدَاتِ وَالْعَشِيِّ. Why? يُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَهُ. So, keep yourself patient with those who call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the morning and in the evening, and they seek yuriduna wajhah, and they seeking His countenance. So they're seeking to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Then what does Allah say? وَلَا تَعْدُ عَيْنَاكَ عَنْهُمْ تُرِيدُ زِينَةَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. and don't let your eyes pass beyond them. Don't look away from this good company. Don't look away from these good friends, desiring the adornments of the worldly life. Now, how many of us have good friends and have bad friends? Don't put up your hands. A lot of us have a mix. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, go seek patience, be patient with the good friends, and don't look past them towards worldly things. So a lot of times we have religious friends who we only turn to when we need advice, or we only turn to them when something is going wrong, or we only turn to them even if we just happen to see them in the masjid. That's the only time that we turn to them. And then when we're not with those religious friends, we're with our normal crew. And that's really the group of, for example, maybe it's your group chat, maybe it's the people that you have snap streaks with, but these are the people who, they don't bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you consider those your default crew. That's the default group of friends that you have. And then your religious friends are only for when you need them. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is being advised, don't let your eyes pass beyond that good company, desiring the adornments of the worldly life. A lot of us, we look at worldly things and that's how we find our friends. So we look for people who share similar hobbies as us. Can everybody hear me in the back when the mic is over here? Okay. So we look at people who help us in our worldly life, who have similar hobbies as us, right? This is like a standard way, by the way, of meeting people. You see a lot of like dating websites and dating applications, astaghfirullah, but you see a lot of these apps and websites, they ask you for what your interests are, what your hobbies are, the type of things that you like to do, right? Because this is in general how you meet people. You go to somewhere where you guys have a shared hobby. But subhanAllah, you look at so many studies, so many psychological studies, for example, where it shows that it's not shared hobbies or interests that bring people together or that keep a relationship healthy, but it's shared values. That's the difference. You might have a friend who has entirely different hobbies and interests as you, but you guys have shared values. What you value in life is the same. That's how you determine who a friend is. That's how you determine who a friend is. You might have entirely different interests. You might honestly feel like your interests don't go along well, or that your personalities don't really fit. But if you know their values are the same values as yours, values of gaining the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the values of Islamic adab, so honesty, loyalty towards truth, the ability to give you nasiha and to be honest with you. These types of traits come from shared values. That's how you find friends. So if your friend group, if you're looking for people who just have the same interests as you, don't expect those relationships to last very long. Because you guys are going to go through some sort of difficulty or some sort of problem, which is inevitable. But because your values are not shared, because you have different values, that relationship is going to fall apart. I mean, how many people, for those of us who are in high school, how many of you are still close friends with the people that you were friends with in grade school? How many of your friends in grade school are you still friends with? Or in university, how many of your friends in high school are you still friends with? The only people that you'll still hold on to are the people who you guys have the same values as. Everybody else doesn't matter. Everybody that you're so worried about fitting in with, that you're trying to speak their slang, you're trying to watch their shows, listen to their music, do everything that you can to fit in with them. Once you guys get older, you're going to notice that the values are not there and you don't even want their company anymore. You really don't. So for example, there are people that I remember in high school who I thought they were the coolest people. These were the coolest people. Now I look at them, I have no interest in hanging out with them. Because I know what my values are and I know what their values are. You don't fit with me. If I'm trying to say, I'm the type of person, for example, who wants to better myself, who wants to improve my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not just because I want Jannah, but because I want betterment in this life as well. Because you don't hang out with religious people just for Jannah. That's not the only effect. When you hang out with good people, wallahi, you will notice the positive effects in this dunya before the akhirah. Does anybody disagree with that? I don't think it's possible. And yet we still go towards bad friends because we're still chasing the wrong things. Because we still want to fit in with them, for example. Because sometimes we just simply are not confident enough in our own identity. This is one of the things that makes us vulnerable to peer pressure. I don't like that word. Does anybody, I never liked the term peer pressure. I felt it was really corny. And anytime that I would, you see peer pressure going on around you, but you don't call it peer pressure. You don't think of it as peer pressure. I think it's just the culture, right? So for example, all of your friends have, take certain types of pictures on Instagram. So you're going to take those pictures on Instagram. You don't think about it. Nobody is actively pressuring you. But you see it's what everybody else does. So you just automatically start copying it. So peer pressure really has become a lot more subtle now. Where there's things like snap streaks. I will never understand why people love snap streaks. I'll never understand it. But there are seriously people who will wake up and remember the first thing in their morning is keep up all of their Snapchat streaks. This boggles my mind. This is what makes me feel like I can't relate to youth anymore. Because I'm looking like, really? It's so important that you have this score? It's like, yeah man, it's been 200 days trying to make it 300. Like, okay. Why? If you ask why, it's literally the only answer that I've gotten has been like, if you don't do it, it's considered rude. Considered rude by who? If anybody's actually going to be offended that you broke a snap streak with them, and here's the thing, the snap streaks could be stressful. Things like getting a certain number of likes on your Instagram posts, these things could actually stress people out. They actually do stress people out. Social media, there's been so many studies that show that things like social media are leading to increased stress levels at young ages. So this culture, this desperation to fit in, a big part of it is simply that we don't have the confidence to stand out. We don't have the confidence to put our values above the values of society around us. So, that was a long tangent, subhanAllah. So we mentioned that ayah from Surah Al-Kahf. Now I want to mention an important quote. Actually, I'm going to leave this one to the end. So I want to share when it comes to now cutting bad friends. In Surah Al-Zukhruf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الأخلاء يومئذ بعضهم لبعض عدو إلا المتقين. And then in Surah Al-Furqan, ويوم يعض الظالم على يديه يقول يا ليتني اتخذت مع الرسول سبيلا يا ويلتى ليتني لم أتخذ فلانا خليلا لقد أضلني عن الذكر بعد إذ جاءني وكان الشيطان للإنسان خذولا. In Surah Al-Furqan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Al-Akhilla. What does that word remind you of? Khalil, right? Has that same root. Al-mar'u ala dini khalilih, right? فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَحَدُكُمْ مَنْ يُخَالِلْ. Guys, don't forget that hadith. By the way, that hadith is one of the first hadith that I ever learned. And it's one of the, I remember when I was younger, if someone would ask me, say a hadith off the top of your head, that was the first hadith that would come to my mind always. Al-mar'u ala dini khalilih فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَحَدُكُمْ مَنْ يُخَالِلْ. Person is on the deen of their friend. I wish I practiced this and had it embedded in me at that same young age, but it's something that sometimes you don't realize until you get older. But so subhanAllah, this ayah, Al-Akhillau yawma idhin ba'duhum li ba'din adu. Close friends on the day of judgment. Ba'duhum li ba'din adu. They will be enemies to each other. The people that you see as close to you now, the people that you think, this person is like family to me, you guys will be like enemies on the day of judgment, illa al-muttaqeen, except for the righteous, except for the people who have taqwa. That's the only thing that makes that changes that. So having close friends who are not of the muttaqeen, what does that tell you? Inevitably they will drag you to mistakes. Inevitably they will make you take steps back in your deen. It's inevitable because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised it. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam promised it. So what does that tell you? Immediately right now you should be thinking about your close friends and asking yourself, which of the people that I'm really close to aren't bringing me closer to Allah? Which of them are not bringing me closer to Allah? Now I'm not telling you now immediately to cut them off, because really this is circumstantial. But don't take them as a khalil. Distance that relationship. You cannot be spending the majority of your time with these types of people, because it's going to harm you, and you know it. Your khalil cannot be, for example, a non-Muslim. Wow, that's going to be offensive to some people. But your khalil cannot be a non-Muslim. Your khalil cannot be somebody who is below you in deen. And I'm not saying you're better or worse than anybody. I'm not saying we should view each other as being above anyone. But, for example, if you're the type of person who's trying to pray 5 times a day, and forgive me. If you're the type of person who's trying to pray 5 times a day, and you have a friend who doesn't even think about salah, what do you think that tells you about their deen? At least on the superficial level, they're below you in terms of their goals and their standards. Not in terms of iman, we don't know that. But in terms of what their standards are, they're below. They have lower standards. That person cannot be your khalil. That person cannot be the closest friend to you. They're going to drag you down eventually. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then continues, وَيَوْمَ يَعُضُّ الظَّالِمُ عَلَى يَدَيْهِ يَقُولُ يَا لَيْتَنِي اتَّخَذْتُ مَعَ الرَّسُولِ سَبِيلًا. And then this is in Surah Al-Furqan now separately. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us that on the day of judgment, the wrongdoer will bite on their hands. And if anybody remembers the halaqa that we gave last year about friendship, I mentioned these same ayahs. This is the act, right? Biting on your hand. What makes you react like that goes you... What makes you react like that? Something that like really, really shocks you. So right now the words that we're saying that are so obvious that yeah man, don't be close with bad people, etc., etc. There are people who hear these ayahs and still on the day of judgment they're going to be biting their knuckles. Why? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he continues, or not Rasulullah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues and he says what? What does this person say on the day of judgment? I wish that I had took with Rasulullah sabila. I wish I had followed the way of Rasulullah. Oh woe to me, I wish I had not taken that one as a friend. That's what their regret will be. Because on the day of judgment, that's when you realize that, oh my God, this whole time that I was having all these late night talks with my friends talking about nothing, and that we were spending all these hours doing nothing with our lives. These people who every time I was with them, my heart felt full, but I never gave anything to Allah. What's going to happen? On the day of judgment, you're going to be like, that was the guy. That was the person. That was the sister that misguided me. That was the brother that misguided me. You will know. It's not going to be a shock. What's one of the mottos of the day of judgment? La dhulm al-yawm. There is no oppression on the day of judgment. Nobody is going to feel wronged. Nobody's going to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and go, yeah, but like I didn't know. Nobody's going to say, yeah, but I didn't deserve that. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to show them, look, this is all the information that came to you, and this is what you did with it. So what's your excuse now? So for example, now, some of us in here, we might be thinking this is all obvious. I want you guys to take a second and reflect. Are we bad friends to other people? Are we bad friends to other people? What type of stuff do we share with our friends? What type of stuff do we start conversations with? I really want this to be a reflection. Because so often we don't realize that we might be the reason why we're misguiding others. We tell ourselves, oh man, I'm going to cut out all my bad friends. I'm going to find a new circle. And then you go to a new circle and nothing else in your life changes. Why? Because there was a problem in you. You can't start finding good people until you start working on yourself. This is inevitable. So that brings me back to the original quote that I actually wanted to mention. And this was a quote from one of my teachers, and he said, stop looking for good company and start becoming good company. Why? Because when you start to become good company is going to come to you automatically. Why? See, one thing that I always tell anybody who says, oh, like, where could I find good friends? Including in Windsor, where could I find good friends? I say, you don't look for good friends. You can't find good friends. You find good places. You go to good places. You start doing good things. You start participating in good causes in the community. then the good people will come. I mean, I could say that for myself, I view myself as a living testament to this. I never actively started looking around saying, okay, you know what? I want to change my life now. I want to start looking for the best people in Windsor and hanging out with them. It doesn't happen. It's unnatural. Even if I said, for example, okay, brother Omar, you're a good brother, but you know, you have bad friends. La samahallah, ba'id annak. But you have bad friends. I want you to now come and be friends with my friend Hassan. If I came and brought you there and I said, hey, come be friends with him. It's not going to work. For a lot of times. Now granted, it could work, but sometimes it just doesn't. Or you're not going to go and see, oh, you know that guy that prays in the first row of the masjid? I'm going to just like get his number and start texting him every day. Or you know that sister that, you know, she wears like her hijab so well and she's so modest, etc., etc. I want to start like getting really close to her. And I'm just going to keep messaging her and, you know, start a snap streak with her. It's that friendships happen naturally, right? You have to start going to good places. You have to start participating in good causes. Then good company will come to you, inshallah. And actually what my teacher was saying, he said, stop looking for good company and start becoming good company. And if you keep looking without working on yourself, you're never going to find it. You're never going to find good company if all you're worried about is finding it. You have to put the onus on yourself to work and to develop yourself. That has to be your number one goal. And then inevitably good people will come to you, inshaAllah ta'ala. Now even when we talk from like a scientific perspective, from a dunya perspective, having friends who are good friends, the benefits are, like there's been so many studies about this. There's been studies that have proven that people who have, you know, a lot of good friends or a lot of close friends, people who they have like good healthy relationships with, that these types of people, they take less risky financial, they make less risky financial decisions, for example. Because they have people around them that they could take a nasiha from. So if that's your finances in the dunya, then what about for your akhirah? You'll take less risky dunya decisions too as well if you have good friends with you. Good friends, people who have good friends also live longer lives. That's been proven. That's been proven. They live longer. It's more healthy for your mental state to have good close friends. Some people might only want one or two close friends and that's it. They don't like socializing in big groups. That's fine. Some people, they need big groups. That's fine. Everybody is different. But the thing that ties everybody together, unless you have some sort of illness, for example, everybody needs good company. Everybody. You should be able to point to your friends and say, like try to put together a list and say, these are the best friends that I have. Or these are the best people that I know. And they're not going to be perfect. But maybe you have one friend, for example, who's really, really, really driven in school. Maybe you have one friend who really loves the Quran. Maybe you have one friend who they don't maybe excel in any of these things, but they have such good positivity and optimism that enough is a good benefit for you. Because to be optimistic is from the sunnah, right? Maybe somebody, they don't have any of these crazy highlights to you, but they have such good adab that when they see two people arguing, for example, they try to cut that argument out. When they see somebody gossiping, they stop them from gossiping. These are the type of traits we should be looking for. So you ask yourself now, who are the best people that you know? Those should be the people that you strive to spend more time with, to the best of your ability, inshaAllah ta'ala. So this is actually an ayah that I came across the other day, and it's another example of the difference between good and bad people, subhanAllah. In Surah An-Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لا خير في كثير من نجواهم إلا من أمر بصدقة أو معروف أو إصلاح بين الناس ومن يفعل ذلك ابتغاء مرضات الله فسوف نؤتيه أجرا عظيما. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is a crazy ayah. When I first heard this ayah, it shook me. لا خير في كثير من نجواهم. There is no good in much of their private conversations. Check that out. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, most of your private conversations, all of us, there's no good in them. How much of a reality check is that? It's not a study. It's not an advice of saying, hey guys, don't have good conversation, have bad conversation. It's none of that. Allah is making a definitive statement that is speaking about human nature from now ila yawm ad-din, from now till yawm al-qiyamah. What's He saying? Most of your private conversations, there's no good in it. And then of course there's an exception to this. Illa, so what's the exception? Except for those who enjoin charity or that which is right or reconciliation between people. So except for people who are enjoining charity, so people who are doing acts of goodness or that which is right, so they're advising people to do good, they're having good, healthy, like permissible conversations or reconciliation between people. They're trying to, this is where the adab comes into it, they're trying to fix the problems between people. They're trying to build healthy relationships between people. That's the exception. If you're not calling to goodness, if you're not working for a good cause, if you're not trying to fix relationships between people, what good is the private conversations that you guys are having? The private or the secret conversations. There's none of it. There's no good in most of it, not in all of it. So yeah, does that mean you could still you can't make jokes? No, you can still make jokes, because we have to realize this deen, it makes sense. So when you make a joke with somebody, a permissible joke, what are you doing? That's a way of increasing love in in that relationship, in that heart, right? If I make a joke about this or that, it shows that I care about you, that I want to put a smile. Making somebody smile, that's an act of sadaqah, right? A charity. So think about that. What is the majority of our conversations about? These are really big reflection questions. And most of this halaqah, I'm not telling you guys really anything you don't know. That's not what this halaqah is for. I'm not teaching you anything. But you could attend all the programs that you want. If you're not able to step away and have a serious moment of reflection about who you spend your time with, you're not going to move forward. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues then, and whoever does that, seeking means to the approval of Allah. So whoever has these types of conversations, trying to gain the approval of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we are going to give him a great reward. Inshallah, in the dunya and akhirah. Say ameen. So I have a lot of stuff that I wanted to talk about, but I'm not going to have time, because I don't want to keep you much longer. So before I answer the questions, some of the questions that I was asked to answer, I want to ask you guys, are there any questions? Even if it's a scenario type of thing, like what do you do if this or that? Yes?
What if there's you live in a place where there's no Muslim around you, no brothers around you, straight from your
So from our pious predecessors, when a what if question was asked, there was one of the great scholars of the past, he said, come back when it's happened. The reality is though, I will answer the question because there is an answer. That's almost impossible nowadays. It's almost impossible. Wherever you go, you can have a connection to Muslims. Wherever you go. Because it's not just about what's here physically. We have access to this thing, I don't know if you guys have heard of it, it's really cool. The internet. It's actually really cool. Through the internet, you can really develop yourself. There's a lot of books that you could read. There's a lot of podcasts you could listen to, audio books you can listen to. There's a lot of videos to watch. There's a lot of ways for you to connect with people who are better than you and learn from them. Now granted, I'm not saying go spend 20 hours on YouTube and then start issuing fatwas. And it's extremely important to have personal relationships with people of knowledge and to have personal relationships in real life with good Muslims. But for us to act like the internet is not a tool to come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's foolish and naive. Because it's so easy. Do you realize how much you could learn? We have access to all of human knowledge, essentially, on the internet. There are so many things to listen to. So for anybody to say, I don't have anybody around me who's religious, so I'm having a hard time. If you have your 5 daily prayers, you have your salah, and you have your Quran, and you're listening to good people, and you're reading good things, should that not be enough for you to help improve yourself? Yeah. Now what if everybody else is around you, what if this isn't enough? I guess, would that be the second part of the question? Yeah? So what if it isn't enough? The most important thing is to realize that there's tests. This is a test in the dunya, guys. By the way, it is very real that somebody might be good and not find good people around them, and might not find good companionship around them for whatever reason. Wallahi, I have a friend, such a good-hearted guy, but he works so much, he has so much work, and he has so many family obligations, he almost has no time to socialize with anybody. And anytime there's an event or a halaqa or this, he wishes that he can come, but he can never come. So this is a brother who lives in Windsor and is not able to have good companionship around him. So what's the solution to that? First of all, you have to mentally prepare yourself that this is a test. This is a test. Some of us, we might spend most of our time in school and work surrounded by people who are negative influences on us. So what's the response to that? You have to realize that this is a test. And the most important thing for you to do is recognize that you are different from the people around you. This is the most important point I could stress. Wallahi guys, brothers and sisters, if there's one thing you take away from this, when you walk out to environments, whether it's with Muslims or non-Muslims, if you're the type of person who's saying, I'm trying to attend halaqas to improve my deen, don't compare yourself to other people. Don't compare yourself to the majority of the people on the outside. Because there is a difference. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that we differ based on our relationship with Him, based on our taqwa, based on our iman. That's what differentiates us. For us to be in here, it means that we have higher standards. It means when you see all of the guys and all of the girls doing stuff, that you don't think of yourself as having to fall into that trend yourself. You have to know that I am different, and you have to be able to stand up and truly believe that I am on the haqq, I am on the truth, and what I'm doing is better. We should be able, when we see people, subhanAllah, some mothers might be shocked by this, but I would say probably the majority of people here, by the time you were like in grade 7 or 8, maybe not for the sisters, but I know the brothers, they've been offered or they have seen somebody smoking, whether it's weed or cigarettes or whatever. I'm so sorry. But the majority of us have been exposed to this stuff from a very early age. It's extremely important for us to get to the point that when you see these types of things in front of you, that internally, not externally, but internally, you mock it. That you look down on it. So when somebody offers you a drink or somebody offers you a smoke, when you see this stuff, your reaction shouldn't be, man, I wish I was non-Muslim for a day so I could try it out. You should be so firm in your iman, so firm in your belief that what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you is better, that when you see that, internally you're like, look, you might need that, but I don't. I don't need what you need for my validation. When you see all of the girls and all of the guys, Muslims or non-Muslims, going to prom, for example, no part of you should think, man, I wish I could go and like not be caught. Or I wish I can convince my mom or dad to go. You should be able to look and be like, that's an environment of mixing. That's an environment of music. That's a waste of my money. It's a waste of my time. I don't want to do it. You should not want to do it. Because Islam is not just about seeking the akhirah. Islam is about succeeding in the dunya as well. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us is the tools to be successful in this dunya before the akhirah. And that's why we seek good companionship. It's so that we can be successful in this dunya before the akhirah. So, is there any other questions? Yes? I can't hear you. Okay, can one of the brothers grab that? One of the brothers volunteer and grab that. Jazakumullah khair. Jazakallah khair. So the question is, what if you have a friend that has a bad influence on you, but you have a good influence on them? And then there's the second one. I'll answer the first one first. So if you have a friend that has a bad influence on you and you have a good influence on them, be cautious of spending too much one-on-one time together. Because if you are already aware of the influence that they have on you, and you know then that you could fall into mistakes by being with them, bring one other good friend of yours with you. Or instead of hanging out one-on-one too much, go to a good place where there's other stuff happening. Don't let go of that person if you were succeeding in giving them a positive influence. But you don't risk your iman. Guys, it's more important for you, if you're having a hard time leaving bad people, not bad people, but people who have a negative influence on you. If you're having a hard time, your heart is your number one priority. You're not responsible for the hearts of other people. You're not responsible for their feelings. You want to try to do it in the nicest way possible, but your priority is your own heart, because on the day of judgment, nobody's going to come asking for you. You'll be responsible for yourself, and that's it. You'll regret trying to help every single person in the world if you fail to help yourself. So this is one of the most important things. Does anybody else have any questions? Any brothers? Sister, yeah. Al-mar'u ala dini khalilih. So the person is on the religion of their khalil. فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَحَدُكُمْ. So each of you should take note or take watch. مَنْ يُخَالِلْ. Who you take as a khalil, as a close friend. So that's the question. That's the hadith. Should we, I don't want to do like a corny little, I'll say it and you repeat after me. But try to repeat it. I'm going to say it one more time. I'll say it slowly, but try to remember this, inshallah. Because these are the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that so many scholars have worked so hard to preserve. So we should value them. Al-mar'u ala dini khalilih falyanzur ahadukum man yukhalil. Inshallah. Anybody else? Any other questions? Brothers don't have any questions. I hope that means that all of you guys have really good friends. And I also hope that means that if you guys don't have the good friends, that inshallah you're going to try to distance yourself and that you're going to try to improve that relationship with them, inshallah. There's a couple other questions. There's really a lot to talk about. But one question was, how do you let go of bad friends and replace them with something better? I think we talked about that. Do you guys feel like we addressed that? Hands up if we addressed it. Yeah? Okay. What is wrong with being in a group of bad friends and thinking that you can change everyone for the better? Did we address that? Yeah? I think so. How do you separate yourself from the crowd? Do you guys feel like we answered that question or not? How do you separate yourself from the crowd? What should those around a person going through an issue of a lack of good friends do to help them? So how do you help a person? How do you help a person who has a lack of good friends around them? One of the scholars was asked, what's the ruling for the person who does not pray Salatul Fajr? You know what he was answered? By the scholar. He said, the ruling is for you to take them to Fajr. So he was asked, what's the ruling for the person who doesn't go to Fajr? Brothers in the back, what was the answer? The scholar told them, you take them for Fajr. So we should be primarily concerned with ourselves and our role in helping other people, not where they're going to end up Yawm al-Qiyamah. So I'm going to paraphrase a certain research paper, but it was talking about some of the traits of being a good friend, okay? And these qualities were broken down into the traits of integrity, the traits of caring, and the traits of congeniality. So basically, that in order to be a good friend, you should hear these questions and be able to answer how much you agree with them. This is what determines if you are a good friend, and if inshallah you are a good person in your relationships. The first question, you tell me privately, so don't tell me, tell yourself, but you answer this. How much do you agree with each of these statements? I am trustworthy. I am honest with others. I am generally very dependable. I am loyal to the people I care about. I am easily able to trust others. I experience and express empathy for others. I am able to be non-judgmental. I am a good listener. I am supportive of others in their good times. I am supportive of others in their bad times. I am self-confident. I am usually able to see the humor in life. I am fun to be around. So these 13 questions essentially give you the 13 traits of a good friend. Okay? So the first one, I am trustworthy. This is fairly obvious. Trust is a big deal. By the way, when somebody says, I trust you with this, or when somebody speaks to you in private, and then you think it's okay to tell one of your friends because why? This is just between us. You're my best friend, so I'm telling you that's why. And then that person tells another person, another person, another person. So how often are we actually keeping people's secrets? How much could we actually be trusted with an amana? The next one, I am honest with others. How many times has somebody made a mistake in front of you, for example, and you didn't correct them? That's a form of dishonesty. Because when you're with them, If you are silent, you are giving them approval. Sah wala la, right or not? When we're silent in the face of an injustice, we're allowing it to happen. So when you see something wrong going on around you, you have an obligation to your friend in the best way, with the best adab, to take them aside maybe privately if it's needed, and to advise them in the best way. I'm very dependable. How often do you tell somebody, I'm gonna help you with this thing, and then you flake, you don't show up? Or I'm gonna do this, and then it doesn't even have a priority to you. Or I'm gonna take care of this, and you do like a half-done job. I'm loyal to the people I care about. So this is actually a really important point I want to talk about. Loyalty. With your friends, you're going to be loyal, but that loyalty is dependent on your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if your friend is doing something wrong, you supporting them is not loyalty. That's not loyalty. It's not. Because your loyalty to them is to help them stay with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there's a hadith that essentially says this meaning, that you are to, essentially, I'm going to paraphrase it, but we should stand with our brothers and sisters, whether they are the zalim or the madloom, whether they're the oppressor or the oppressed. If they're oppressed, you come to their help. And if they're the oppressor, they're causing wrong, they're harming others, you stop them from doing that. So that's what our loyalty should be about. So for example, if you're with one of your friends and you think that we have a relationship, we've been friends for 10 years, 15 years, I can't cut them out now because I'm a loyal person, that's not loyalty. Because if they're bad and they're harming you, what's more important than that loyalty is your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But also, it's not loyalty if you're letting them stay in that bad situation. Either you help them get out or you leave. Inshallah. I'm able to trust others, it's the same thing, right? So can I trust people and can people trust me? I'm able to be non-judgmental. So what does that mean? Some of the stuff that we talked about, somebody might think, oh, you're being judgmental. Guys, when you're judgmental with a person, being judgmental is, for example, if I'm going to go, man, a person's never going to change. That's judgment. Who are you to determine that? But if I see somebody making a mistake and I come to him, hey, you shouldn't have done this, that's not being judgmental. That's not being judgmental. That's giving an nasiha, that's giving an advice. So recognize the difference between judgment and advice. And at the same time for us, if we feel like somebody's judging us, or sometimes we avoid coming to the masjid or coming to an Islamic place because we feel like we might be judged there. Don't let the shaitan fool you. Even if you feel like people are judging you, your priority is your relationship with Allah over everything else. Don't let the shaitan fool you. So the rest of them then, I'm a good listener, I'm supportive of others in their good times, I'm supportive in their bad times. It's the same thing, that's self-explanatory. I'm self-confident. See that point? Same thing, psychologically speaking. It's the same thing. We need to be confident in ourselves, and I'll also add in our deen. Confidence in your deen is what makes you a good friend. If you believe, so sorry, that's the third time. If we are truly confident in our deen, if we're truly confident in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave, if we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the truth, and that what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said is the truth, if we really believe that, it's our duty to educate ourselves and gain knowledge and reach a point where we are comfortable standing out from everybody else, inshallah. So I'm going to ask one more time, does anybody else have any questions? Okay, inshallah ta'ala. Then we're going to wrap it up there. This was the end of the Hot Coals program. The whole purpose and the whole theme of the program is understanding why, sometimes some of the reasons that Islam becomes hard to hold on to. Friendship is a big part of it. Wallahi, you are the summary of your friends around you. You tell me who your friends are, I'll tell you who you are. So every single one of us right now should leave and reflect, who are the best people that I know and how could I spend more time with them? And other than the people around you, the other thing that you should prioritize is consuming good media. Consuming good media. Consuming good books, good podcasts, good lectures, all of these things. Wallahi, the more that you consume this stuff, find a speaker that you like. It won't feel like an obligation. You'll feel like you want to. You'll enjoy it. And if anybody wants to listen to podcasts, I'll highly recommend one specific podcast that's a little bit for a more mature audience, but the Mad Mamluks podcast. They talk to figures in the Muslim community all over the world. They do interviews with them, and it's a really good way for you to start to get an idea of what is going on in Muslim America, Muslim Canada, in the Muslim West. It'll give you an idea of standards and goals to set for yourself, inshallah ta'ala. So the Mad Mamluks podcast, TheMadMamluks. If you have an iPhone, podcast app is right there. Take advantage, inshallah. Subhanallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wal asri innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus salihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr.
Jazakumullah khairan brother Tareq for that amazing talk. And Allah make these sorts of benefit for those around you. Also, Jazakumullah khairan for coming out. Inshallah, our next halaqa will be the first Thursday of September. That's September 7th, I believe. So please check on that. So this concludes our halaqa, the series of goals. Jazakumullah khairan for coming out. Assalamu alaikum.